Welcome to Pacific Radio. We are back with little Dave, and it is a glorious Monday. I have back today. What are you training today?
I got legs.
Oh, hell yeah. So both good hard training sessions for us coming in the pipe, which is incredible. Both your and I's food is through the roof, so that's a good thing.
It's in a
You
good spot for
plays for a
sure.
while. So
Yeah.
and I mean I think I would like to talk about that a bit. Like that you're checking on Sunday mixed with the training videos you've been posting. Like, this is a prime example and lesson to everyone that as long as you keep your foot on the gas with training and food, rest, recovery, like your health phase doesn't need to be a regression.
Mhm.
And I think so many people just miss that, right? Like,
Yeah.
they lose motivation because they aren't as big and hard and full, maybe like perceptually. And it's just kind of part of this game if you're going to do it the right, in my opinion, the right way, which is being health conscious about what we do. Now, I'm not trying to say that everything that we do is perfect on the human body, but there are better ways to mitigate risk. And that's the way I've always coached you from day one.
Yeah.
It's a slow and steady rise. I could have probably put double the weight on you each year being more aggressive, and I just refuse to compromise your health.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what happens when that stops working, right? No,
Correct.
it's laughable because it's like one of those things like you can take a gram of test and 18 I use a growth hormone a day, but what happens when that stops working?
Correct. Yep.
You know? And then what happens when you get side effects?
Yes.
So,
Agreed. And I think that also stems from your mentality. Like, I think you understand that maybe a touch of power will be gone for a phase, but the grand scheme of life, your strength doesn't dissipate. It actually steadily climbs. You just, it's just a different feeling. And that's the best way for me to describe that
yep.
is it's just a slightly different feeling. And you have to almost modify your approach and I know for me, I have to be super diligent with the amount of volume I do.
Yep.
And I always have to, I've learned this through fucking up is like, I have to find ways to make less more. And
Yep.
as long as I do that, I'm good. And then when supplements come back in and food goes back up in terms of like for us, protein goes to from 6 or 7 ounces to 8 or 9 ounces, and then carbs go north, like then you utilize the extra food and supplements and recovery in the tank to take volume this way. But the one thing that you and I refuse to do is take intensity out.
Mhm.
And to me, like that's what stimulates muscle growth at the grand scheme of life for you and I. So that's just, I guess that's what I wanted to start with there. I mean, you have anything? I mean, it's just your health phase is just catapulting out of a good rebound, and which will set you up for a blast, which leads us into pre-contest. And it's this revolving door. And that's
Yeah.
what I said to you with your check-in yesterday was like you can tell the years of doing this and you and I perfecting that art together is why you continue to progress.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Trying to find ways to think, training harder, not longer
yes.
is
Yep.
always the secret.
Yep.
Like, and then like, if you don't have all the extra goodies in the tank, like, yeah, you feel a little bit less
Yep.
power,
Yep.
but the strength is still there.
Yes.
So
Agreed.
I kind of just relate that to, like if you have the same amount of horsepower, but a little bit different torque,
Yeah.
you
Yep.
know? So yeah, you may not be able to like just toss 405 up as fast as possible,
Right. Yeah.
but you can get it there,
Yeah. Yes.
you
Yep.
know?
A little bit more of a, I mean, I think some people say kind of like a slower grind rep might be the way to describe it, where when you're fully sauced and feel great and food's high, like that weight wants to fly out of your hands and it
Yeah.
just feels lighter, even though it's not lighter.
Yeah. It's just a mental thing.
Correct. Correct. Cool. All right. So we did a Q&As on both of our Instagrams yesterday, and we have tons of questions. So we are probably gonna have to break this into 2 or 3 segments, depending on how long-winded you and I are with each one of these. Thank you
Yeah.
everyone for the questions. We will eventually do all of these. So I have them saved in a Word document. So let's just start ripping these things off. The first one, why does my body tell me to do curls in a squat rack?
Are the people squatting the crow rack?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I would say because logically it's inviting. You have the J hooks there. There's a barbell. Now, well, the funny thing is, I don't do straight bar curls anymore.
Mhm.
I used to do straight bar curls, man. I used to curl in the squat rack all the time. I didn't
Yeah.
give like I'm not going to be doing 40 sets. I might do 3 or 4 sets and it might take me 8 minutes. So I never
Yeah,
felt guilty about it.
yeah.
Um,
Lord Lee Priest put it a good way. He's like, I curl more than you squat, so what does it matter?
right, right, right. I also trained in a lot of gyms that had a pretty good preacher bench to where it was actually a little bit more conducive to just if you wanted to do a straight bar curl, you just put a barbell at the end of the preacher curl bench and just do
Yep,
it there. So,
yep,
I mean, I think there's alternatives,
yep,
but instinctually, it's easy to adjust J hooks. The bar's right there. Fuck, have at it, man. Like, as long as you're not a dick bag and texting and stuff, I don't honestly, I don't care. I mean,
yep,
could you curl anywhere? Yes. But in my mind, like you could do hack squats, you could do true squats, you could do Smith machine squats, and if you go to a good gym, it's going to have more than one power rack. So, and if you're not a dickhead about it, like if I'm let's say my workout calls for leg curls, adductor, squats, leg press. Okay, cool. Like I'm just going to go leg press and then come back to squats after you're done. Like
yep,
just made an Instagram post about this yesterday. Like my last leg day, every piece I wanted, somebody was on. And I'm not gonna wait. I'm gonna just roll. It's fine. It's
yep,
not a big deal. I wanted to start with seated leg curls. I did one leg curls. I wanted to do a specific adductor. I had to do the other one. Like it, it's just not a big deal. I wanted to leg press next. I had to do that cable machine leg press. The
yep,
John Meadows way. Like not a big deal. Like you just keep rotating.
yep. Yeah, you just pivot.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you're freaking out about gym equipment being gone, you have two options. You either have to learn how to use other equipment or buy your own gym equipment.
Yes. Yep.
You know,
Agreed.
so and I mean, you benefit yourself so much from learning how to use other equipment in that way.
Agreed.
Like you are not learning if all you do is exactly follow a thing. Like, how do you know what's going to feel better? You try it.
Yeah. Great.
That's how you learn to find things that you like. Like, because like when I write a program, generally speaking, like half the things I write, I'm going to put like barbell row of choice
Yes.
with, and
Right.
then be like neutral, pronated, or underhand.
Yep. Yep.
Like it doesn't matter. Like as long as your effort and intensity is there,
Yeah.
your body will change. Your body does not know the difference between what's happening.
Right.
Your
Yep.
muscles do not. Your
Yep.
brain probably does, but
Right.
your muscle knows load and intensity
Agreed. Yep.
and stress.
Yes. Yep.
It does not. You get that from any machine.
Think about how many times I've written in your program, free weight row of choice.
Yeah,
It's because I trust your ability to choose what you need or what you love or what you feel. And at the end of the day, it's just going to be hard and heavy. It
yeah,
can be a dumbbell, can be a barbell, it can be meadows. There's multitudes of free weight rows we could do. Like, I don't know. You could do T-bar in the corner. Like, I don't give a fuck. Just load a bar or a dumbbell and fucking pull it. Like, or I can't remember the last time I actually wrote a specific grip for you for a lat pull down.
yeah,
Like, don't care. Just do pull downs, make it hurt.
yeah,
So yeah, and I mean that just shows you and I aren't married to an exercise. Like I don't think the benefits of a squat versus a Smith machine versus a hack squat. I don't think it's if you give adequate effort. I don't think it matters.
yeah.
That might hurt some people's feelings, but all right. If you guys could train with any pro from any era, who would it be and why? No, you cannot choose Brance Warren or Johnny Jackson.
Dorian Yates,
Jordan would be fun. I think
or
Evan.
also shit. What's his name? Leroy.
Oh yeah,
Like I don't know if Dorian would be as fun of a training partner as his actual training partner
right,
because shit, I kind of train similar. Like I train pretty low volume, so
right.
I think that would be awesome. Just
Yeah. I think so. When I was a young kid, I always related to and loved watching Evan Centopani videos, and I would love to have gotten in a squat rack with him and
yeah,
just done a leg day.
yeah,
It was very basic and always related to his approach and thought process of bodybuilding. I think if I had to pick a 1B, it would be Milos because I just want to do that crazy ass giant set shit.
yeah,
Like I want to experience that pain.
yeah,
So I still hope one day that that'll happen.
yeah. Milos would be really cool for
Agreed.
sure.
Yeah, and it has to be like I want the full experience. Like I want to load up on all that insulin and shit and like go through that session. Ideally, like in a prep at some point, so that you could like see the blown out muscle would be. I would
Yeah,
think that would
that
be
would
sweet.
be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, because in the day, like I trained with John, who was a pro, and that's probably that's who I would have chosen if that had never happened. So,
Yeah.
let's see, most memorable set you ever did. You want to go first?
The entire back day when we first met, when we first trained together, remember that really well.
Yes.
Um,
Right.
that leg press rest pause thing you gave me
Yeah, yeah,
with
yes.
Zach, where both of us were legitimately in shock after that.
Yeah.
Like we legitimately had to wait at the gym for an hour and a half before we could drive home.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I remember thinking like, I wonder how many days it's going to take him to recover from
I think it was a
that.
I think that was a solid 2 week
Yeah.
2 weeks.
And that was as much physically as it was psychologically.
Yeah.
Like, for me, oh man, let's see. There was, I think I've shared this on the podcast before. John custom wrote me a Thanksgiving leg day within the first year that him and I worked together. And it was sorry, the last set was put 365 on the bar and get above 20. And that was a fight. That was horrible. Um,
Yeah.
I remember barely being able to even like fall into the rack afterwards. That was a good one. And then he made me do a quadruple drop set of one arm barbell rows with a chain, and it was excruciating.
Mhm.
And it was bad because we did the first arm, and then I had to wait and then do the other arm, and I knew how bad arm one was that you had to do the second one. It almost reminded me like a Bulgarian split squat of death. Um,
Yeah.
because he was making me like drive it so fucking explosively. Like my hamstrings were even pumped afterwards. So it was
Yeah.
like hamstring, glute, erector, lat, trap, bicep, like everything was just fucked on the right side of my body. And I know most people are like one arm row, like how could you? But I remember the intensity of that moment of him there, like what he was saying to me in my ear about how shitty my back was, and if I needed to fix it, right now is the time to do it. Like it was just a cool day. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, any of the workouts you and I've done together, I'm trying to think of the ones we did together. Probably that prowler and lunge combo, pretty
Yes.
awful. Um, that set of hack squats we did at Elite the first time you were in,
Yeah.
we had what 6 plates on there, and we both got above 15. Like
Yeah.
that was a good. I remember I was fucked after that. Yeah. That newbie leg session with you. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Okay. I got it. I got it. It was newbie at 100 quad drop Bulgarian split squat of death with iso holds. And I think that was the most fucked I was because I had edema in my legs for 10 days afterwards. So,
Mhm.
all right, there you go. It's on my YouTube. Not the edema, but that was one of those days where I was fucking angry at the world and I told him I was going to beat the newbie and it won. So, yeah,
Yeah.
not a good day. Um, Ways to stay motivated that work for you.
Mirrors.
Yeah, yeah. Scrolling Instagram and knowing how far I have to go to be where I want to be.
Yeah.
The scale.
I laugh at that too because like I don't think I've ever been not motivated to go to the gym. Like I generally enjoy that.
Right. Yes.
Like sometimes like sticking to a diet is like, all right, fuck, this is gonna be. But at the same time, it goes right back to like I'm doing this so I can train harder.
Yes.
And then I'm like, oh, whatever, cool. That's not too so hard to eat chicken and rice today. You know?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the things that like are cumbersome. Like there's some days where I don't want to swallow all those pills, meaning
Mhm.
supplements, fish oil, all that stuff that is like what you and I consider morning routine.
Yeah.
There's some days where I just don't feel like doing all that. But then I'm like, hey, do you want to live longer? Yeah. I'm gonna swallow them. But yeah, I don't think if I ever wake up one day and I'm just like, oh, I'm not feeling the gym today, I just don't go. So I guess motivation there doesn't isn't what's driving that ship though. It isn't like I'm gonna wake up and say, "Ah, I don't feel like training today." It's like, oh, my body's beat to shit, I need an off day is kind of what my mindset is for that.
Yeah,
For cardio and a prep, even though I may wake up and like, man, my legs are heavy, I actually find some like twisted shit out of that. And I'm like, how many people would stay in the bed right now?
yeah,
Like, get up, have your lemon water, take your supplements, get your ass on the treadmill or
yeah.
bike, whatever.
I'm just excited for the changes I'm able to make.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm legitimately stoked. It's like, all right, cool, sweet. There's another chance to get better.
Yeah. Anyone that says that to me about motivation, I always just tell them to take a week off. Take a week
Yeah,
off. Don't look at anything fucking bodybuilding related. Don't go to the gym. Don't stretch. Don't do yoga. Don't do jack shit. Be lazy as shit. And I promise you'll crave it. And if you aren't, like, I would look into some bigger reasons why. And then I'd probably get some blood work done.
yeah,
I think naturally, even before I ever was enhanced, I needed a physical outlet in my life ever since I was a kid. Like,
yes,
I don't know why. Some people might say it's maybe with my hormone profile, whatever. Like, I don't have blood work from my early 20s, like before I started to take anything. So I don't know what my hormones are at, but I always crave physical activity and something hard.
yeah,
So I think and even to this day, like, I get so burnt out being on the computer. I'm like, fuck, I gotta go do something.
yeah,
Like, I don't know. So yeah, motivation. I don't, I don't know how I want to word this. Like, if you have to find a reason to get up and train, maybe this isn't the right thing for you. And maybe that sounds really depressing, but it's just, I don't know. I've never talked to someone who loved bodybuilding and who was good at it, who was like, ugh, another back day, another leg day. Oh, I don't feel like doing hamstrings today. Like, it's more time like, fuck, why does my low back hurt? Or why do my knees hurt? Like, man, this sucks. Like, I just
yeah,
want to go in there and train hard. Like, I don't want to think about a joint. Like, for me, that's the only time I might get a little fucked up is like, let's say I have a little bit of bicep tendon pain. Like, I'm like, God, how in the fuck am I going to be able to find a way to do a curl that doesn't hurt? But yeah,
yeah. That's yeah.
yeah. Times when you choose not to train. So I think for me, like, no, maybe I took that too literal. I was gonna say like anything before 6 a.m.
Yeah. Oh, dude, well, also I'm not the biggest fan. Like training super late in the day, like I get it if you have to,
Right,
but
same.
like when I go to the gym, I'll be doing random errands for a gym, and I'll like walk in at like 8:30 p.m. and I'm
Mm,
like, why the fuck are you training right now?
right, yeah, yeah,
Like,
agreed.
oh my god, like I get it, but like you're food wise, you're gonna be like super full throughout the day, and then you have no food after the gym.
Yes, agreed, agreed. In the second half of my day is always hungrier in the all season
Yeah,
after training. Now I don't know how much that's like post lift GH coupled with a nap and you wake up and you're just ravenous,
yeah,
but yeah, yeah. I'm with you. Anything after 8 p.m. If it's not like I could do arms anytime,
yeah,
but like a hard any of the other 3 days, I want really no part of it. Anything before 8 o'clock, if I'm shit, probably being 10 o'clock if I'm being really honest. Um, and then anything after 8 is a no go. So
yeah.
I'm with you. I think maybe he was being a little bit more specific about like times when you wouldn't train. Maybe he means times of the year. Um,
Or like when you wake up and you're like, "What should I take a rest day today?"
right. Yeah, either one of those.
Like
Right.
if you're still sore, like if my goal is to train back today
Yeah,
and my back is still sore, something's wrong.
agreed. Yep.
Probably shouldn't be training back again. And there's a big difference between sore and tight.
Yes, agreed. Agreed.
All right. Um, so that's something to keep in mind there. And like I actually just this last week, I trained arms and I was planning on doing back the next day, but that day I went to bed. I slept I slept maybe 4 hours because I just couldn't fall asleep for the life of me.
Right.
Woke up that morning and was like, today's gonna be a rest day.
Correct.
Because like
Yep.
I felt that like it wasn't like bad enough, like, all right, I need to take a nap or whatever. It was just like that's gonna I'm that my recovery from arms is not gonna be as great. So going into back and just making this worse, like it doesn't need to like I absolutely love the fact like when people reach out to me like, oh, I took an extra rest day.
Oh yeah.
I'm never gonna get mad at you for that in a off season setting.
No, not one bit. Nope.
Like pre-contest, if you're being a pussy and you're like, oh man, I took 3 rest days in a row because I couldn't do my cardio. It's like, well, you're a dumbass.
Right. But you know why that will never happen is because 9 times out of 10 their food's lower on off days.
Yeah,
I can't.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I've had like where David has like, grinded my erectors and lats so aggressively, I was supposed to like train back in a day or two, and they're still tender. I won't do it then either.
yeah,
Um, if I'm sick or feverish, throwing up, can't keep food down, hard no to training. If I can't get my water in, not training. Um, if my honestly, I'll be brutally honest. If my mind isn't 100% locked in, I'll push that shit later. And I know I just said I won't train after 8 p.m., but let's say noon or 1 rolls around and I feel like I have so much in my brain that's overwhelming my thought process, I'll just train later at night. I'll have a couple
yeah,
more pills, I'll get more work done. I'll try to get anything that's on my mind mentally gone, and then I'll go train. Like, I don't know how you are, but like if Angel and I very rarely fight, but if we do or we have something that's like in between us, like I have to figure that the fuck out or I'm not
yeah,
training.
yeah,
And I don't care what people fucking say. Like maybe that makes me sound not hardcore, but my mind will be somewhere else and I can't afford that.
yeah,
So yeah, if that means her and I have to go take a walk on her lunch break and figure that shit out as a unit to make my mind at peace, like which is laughable, right? Which is why that fucking video of Matt and Nick makes no sense. That he operates better in chaos. Suck a dick. I'm sorry. No one operates better in chaos.
no,
I've trained so many people who went through divorce, their businesses went bankrupt, they've lost their house, God knows what else, a child has died. They're all fucked up and don't make progress.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, quick rant
Well,
there.
it's amazing. As soon as that cortisol goes up, like your body just says "fuck you."
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yep. And there's no amount of tests or GH that'll fix that.
No,
So, all right, longer one here. Do you think most pro athletes get frequently monitored by a physician to make their health, or sorry, to make sure their health is in check when using PEDs? If you do, what's the routine of health checks? How frequent? What's checked? Blood tests, etc. So, do you think most, I would assume they're talking about bodybuilders, get frequently monitored by a physician?
at least some kind of physician.
Yeah.
I think that's always the fun thing because like there's different levels to this.
Yeah.
Like if you go to a general person doctor, they're probably gonna tell you you're gonna die.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, you're taking 200 milligrams of test a week, you're gonna get prostate cancer and you're gonna die.
Right.
It's like, well, that's not even no, no, you won't.
No. They get that to a
But
13-year-old girl who wanted to transition
yeah,
and didn't
yeah,
bat an eye.
yeah.
Side rant.
So finding a good doctor would be step one.
Correct. And being honest with them. That's to me, that's two. Like, if you're gonna go to a doctor and just get your blood work drawn and not tell them anything, you're stop it. It's not even worth
You
it.
remember when I had the that bone issue in my quad?
Yeah, yeah.
I went up to the University of Utah. I got an MRI,
Okay,
and the
yeah.
guy he reads it over, looks at me. He's like, "Are you using PEDs?" And I'm like, "No." Like, I was like, "There is not one thing in the world where this would be caused from PED related use."
Correct. Yeah.
Like, it's like, dude, like,
He wanted a quick answer for you, by the way.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think most high when I think professional, I think high level that do this for a living. Yes, I do. Um I think with the state of where we are now, and we actually can see the mortality rates of bodybuilding now. Like it's visible
Yeah,
when someone dies, we all know thanks to social media, where before it might have been more swept under the rug. I think anyone who does this, if they don't do that, they're just absolutely moronic. Like the whole head in the sand approach doesn't work anymore
yeah,
and is just not smart. We have too much technology and there are too many good doctors and like places like Merrick Health, for example, where you can just sit in your blood work too. Um, I mean, for fuck's sake, we work with a longevity clinic with Adam Lamb at Mountain Dog, where if they'll read your blood work any time of the year. So it's like, to me, if they aren't doing it, it's just an error and laziness.
Hmm.
Um, well, in terms of what kinds of tests and things, there's a really great article that John wrote on T Nation years and years ago. It's just called Blood Simple, and that's
Hmm.
everything that a bodybuilder should get done. And then to me, the second piece there is you have to take a look at your family's genetics. So if a lot of people in your family have had cancer, okay, you need to look into that. For me, my both of my dad's dad, so my grandfather, my great grandfather, my dad's side, both had died of brain aneurysms. I get that checked. Um,
Yeah.
I have hematoma so I have to constantly keep a check on my red blood cell count and my iron levels. Like my mom had that, I inherited that genetically. Like those are just things that I have to watch out for. If you have heart disease in your family, dear God, I would get a ton of, honestly, whatever your doctor will do for you. And
Mhm.
that will range upon the physician you see. Like a lot of people will recommend getting an echo. You could always do that. There's multiple things you could do. I would just lay down the law to your doctor and say, hey, look, like, here's my family history. You see it. Here's what I do with bodybuilding. Please make sure this doesn't happen to me.
Yeah.
I mean, anything else you
You
want to
know,
add to that?
and honestly, being smart with whatever you're dealt too.
Yes. Yes.
Like if you have anxiety problems,
Mhm.
don't do high androgens.
Correct. Yes.
Figure your way around it.
Right. I mean, if you think about that too, like let's say you have blood pressure issues, let's say you have family of heart issues, Clen, caffeine, all that shit, be leery. Post-show rebound, watch that blood pressure like a fucking hawk.
Hmm.
Which means, hey, you probably won't be able to eat the buffet 7 times on Sunday. Like, I think that's what I think bodybuilding scares me the most about is the people that do this. I mean,
Yep.
super heavy, shredded, super heavy. Because if you think about this logically, I was just talking to Dwayne about this the other day. You think about all those like rock stars who do massive amounts of drugs and don't sleep, and they're still living into their 80s. You think about all those NFL linemen who push their weight well above 300, and then they come down slowly after their career's over, and they're living well late in their life. Why
Hmm.
is bodybuilding different? Because I don't believe for 1 second those NFL linemen aren't using PEDs that's the way we are. I'm sorry. And that's all professional athletes to
Hmm.
gain a competitive advantage. So what is it about our lifestyle that tends to do that, right? Like, is it recreational drugs on top of that, plus the body weight going up and down? Like, there's always, to me, I've always been leery about post-show rebounds with guys because I've watched their blood pressure to go this way. And the next thing you know, they have edema everywhere and they feel like death and they can't breathe. And then the next thing you know, they can't, they're waking up at night with acid reflux and like catching their breath. Like, all of that stuff is petrifying to me,
Hmm.
which is why I'm always like, hey, like, have you considered a CPAP if you can't breathe it? And if you wake up gasping at night, time to go get a sleep study done. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think we about covered that. The main thing is pay attention because
Yep.
anytime my blood pressure has been high, anytime I sit back on a flat bench to do anything, I know when I sit up.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
Dude, yep.
So if you feel that, hey, asshole, get a blood pressure cuff on Amazon and check that bitch every morning.
Hmm.
Write it down on a notebook or in your notes section of your phone and track that. If it isn't going down, that means something is wrong. And that means we need to fix it and go see a doctor or be smart, take your food down, get the body fat off you, do cardio. Yeah, there you go. Let's see. What's the minimum GH you would recommend someone to run? How long? And is there a minimum IU daily for a blast phase? So, do you think there's a minimum amount you would run?
Uh, Probably minimum for a man, two IUs.
Same.
Uh,
How
for a
long?
female,
Yeah.
maybe one IU
Yeah.
as a minimum. I mean, like technically, like, we're pretty fucking similar there. It's not like women have to take half as much as men.
Right.
That's fucking retarded.
Yes.
Um, the For minimum length of time, I like GH is not a caffeine.
No.
You,
No.
you don't feel it on day one.
No.
That the way it works is such a long term effect,
Right.
you
Yes.
know.
Yep. Agreed.
So it's like if you're gonna use it, you plan on using it for at least a year.
Yeah. Oh, agreed. Yeah. And I mean, it's kept on a blast phase. I mean, I've had people's GH as low as 3 IUs. Like,
Yeah,
I think with GH, here's how I look at it. Like, what can you afford? That's
yeah,
a more practical question, right?
yeah.
Because in a perfect world, I would love to say you could run 10 IUs of Cero year round, but can your wallet afford that? On top of doing everything else we talked about with your food, with your lifestyle, with getting regular blood work and health supplements. Like, I've always found that like a lot of times with GH, if it's good and it's not generic garbage, you don't need a ton of it.
Yeah.
6 to 8 is a sweet spot. If you ask me what a sweet spot of Serostem was, it's 6 to 8. It just is, in my
Hmm.
opinion. Um, I'm not saying you couldn't do more. I've done 10, and it's definitely worked.
Hmm.
So yeah. In terms of the length of time, it's like you said, long. We use that shit long term, man. Like, and if you can't afford it, just save until you can, or get another job or something.
Yeah.
It's not cheap. So
Become friends with the person with AIDS.
yes. Get to a Facebook group and see a bunch of bodybuilders. Why are they here? It's not because what you think. Hey guys, a lot of good content in here.
Right.
Anybody got any kits sitting around? I'll take them off your hands. Always laugh. Like, wasn't that geared up group? Someone was like, I have a bunch of Ceros sitting around, but I don't know if it's still good. And Andrew Barry commented, send them to me. I'll see if they're good.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's incredible. That's incredible.
Right.
We'll test them out, bro. Don't
Right.
worry. All right, let's see. Who are your three favorite past bodybuilders that never won the Olympia? Any up and coming new pros you're particularly a fan of? Those are two separate questions. So, you have anybody who you're a fan of who never won Olympia?
Um, Luke Sando, when he took third at the Arnold, I thought that was an incredible look.
Agreed.
I just like his structure a lot.
Yes.
Does
Yep.
that make sense? Like,
Yes.
yes, he has a little bit wider of a waist than some guys. Like he's still a freak, but like definitely a little bit like of a different look than some of the other guys up there.
Yeah.
Um, what was his name? Hunter. That was back in the Ronnie Coleman days. Hunter, the German guy, Hunter Goose. I can't pronounce
Yes.
his last name.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
He just had like a crazy physique, you
Yeah.
know. Um, he was like one of the same. He was like one of the guys who beat Ronnie Coleman,
Yep.
and then just like no one's ever really even heard of him. Um,
Yeah.
who else? I mean, we all liked Kai Green.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah. Yeah. I loved Kai Green's story and
Yeah,
how he looked at life and bodybuilding before he got like what I would consider like a little like a far end extreme.
yeah,
Like, I remember watching Generation Iron, and even though I knew the outcome, I was still rooting for him to win.
yeah,
Like, I don't know. He is probably one of the freakiest guys I've ever seen in person.
yeah.
And I've always loved giant, crazy ass legs, and I think that's why I related to it.
Mhm.
Not as a human, but I loved Sean Ray's physique, like in his peak.
Yeah,
Like, give that to me, and man, I'm thrilled. Like,
yeah,
and then the third one, I would have to say Kevin Levrone, just because that
yeah,
shoulder, trap, chest, arm, like, dear God, like, how can you not
yeah,
look at that and not want to look like that when he hits the most muscular?
yeah. Dude, his shoulders and arms, yeah, this literally is like what everyone wants their shoulders and arms to look like.
That's what literally we're all chasing. Like,
Yeah,
and when the pump's right and you're in the right portion of leanness, but not so peeled where you have lost some fullness, like I'm always like, oh fuck, that's a glimmer of hope. It
yeah,
kind of resembles him. Like, I don't know. Like that, those are all things that to me stand out. Those three. In terms of new pros that I'm a fan of, um, I mean, I think
Martin Fitzwater for sure.
right. You and I talked about this. I think maybe just to you and I, like, I love Hunter Labrada's physique. Like,
Hmm.
it's not missing jack shit. So those two, I think we both really like and are fans of, and the way they train and their outlook, super cool.
Hmm.
I know he's just was Mr. Olympia with Samson. Like I've always liked his physique too. Andrew Jacked, I think, is fun to look at.
Yeah.
But if you ask me who I'd want to wake up tomorrow looking like, I'd probably say Hunter. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah. All right, let's see. Is trend necessary? And then what's the next best thing?
Well, nothing's necessary.
Agreed.
I think the best thing after trend would, in my opinion, would just be high test.
Yes. Yep. I could argue that Masteron and Anadrol combo might give you a similar look.
Hmm.
Maybe. Um, is trend necessary? No. I think some people tolerate it very well and others don't. And that's the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
I tolerate it very well and I love it.
Yeah.
And I know like saying that on the internet is like very cliche and trendy, but it's just the truth. Um, I like that aggression that comes with it. I like the strength that comes with it. I think I'm relatively chill throughout my normal daily life. And I
Hmm.
like that little bit of a mental edge it gives me. Like
Yeah.
it can kind of feel like a football game day all day, every day. And that,
Yeah.
I like that sensation. My
Yeah.
wife doesn't like that I'm that way on edge.
Yeah. For
Um,
me, it takes my emotions away,
yes. Yes. Yep.
which is phenomenal for contest prep. Don't give a fuck.
Right.
But like in the off season or whatever, not really the greatest one because it's just like, all right, cool. I don't feel it's just like this numb feeling
Yeah.
for the entire time.
I don't mind sweating at night.
Yeah.
Um, I don't mind that I sleep less because I just end up napping more. So I think cumulative sleep's probably the same for me. Um, yeah, but again, it's not necessary. I've seen John get peeled out of his fucking mind and not use it once.
Mhm.
I've also seen him do it like 70 MIGs every third day and be peeled out of his mind. So
Yeah.
it's like, no, it's not necessary at all. If you can't get it or it's not real or, if it really fucks with you, like, don't do it. If you have any anxiety issues, don't use it. It's just
Yeah.
not for you. Um, or any type of like panic attacks, or if you're already naturally super aggressive and like want to get out of your car and fight people, I probably wouldn't take it.
Yeah. Same with Halo.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah. Just take some one straw. You'll be all
Yeah.
right. When to switch from high volume to low volume and vice versa.
Well, I think that's what most people get wrong these days
Yeah.
is they everybody's on the low volume train.
Yeah.
I might sound like a hypocrite because I just said earlier in this podcast that I'm a low volume guy.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. I started at an extremely high volume.
Right. Yeah.
You know, you have to learn how to do things right before you do things right.
Optimal. Yeah. Right.
If that
Yes.
makes sense.
Yes. Agreed.
Like you cannot expect someone like go grab your younger brother or a sibling who's 15 years old and never picked up a dumbbell before and tell me to give him max intensity on a bench press.
Correct. Doesn't happen.
He's going to pick up the bar. He's capable of doing much more than that, by the way.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have the motor. He doesn't have the motor function control,
Yep.
right? So how do you build motor that function control?
Yep.
Same way powerlifters do.
Yep.
Lots of repetitions.
Correct. Yep.
But we're
Yep.
not powerlifters. So how do we do that? More volume,
Yep.
So and then as you get better at training, volume goes this way.
Right.
Depending on if you have to. If volume works for you, just fucking leave it.
You're right. Yes. Right. Agreed.
But like for me, like I pride myself on being able to take things pretty far.
Right.
So if
Same.
I'm doing 30 sets of something, I will be so fucked if I do 30 sets of legs
Right.
that by the next time I want to train legs,
Right.
I'm still fucked up.
Yes.
So then I'm not recovering, right? So that's the secret.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. And that's what I think. You are right. Most people miss that. The longer you train, the better you train, the more efficient a set can be. That you need less.
Yeah.
Um, there are periods of the time of year where I just like putting a little bit more volume in there.
Yeah.
But pick and choose where to put that instinctually, right? Like if I'm gonna say let's look at a chest day for an example. If I'm gonna do dumbbell barbell press and then a dumbbell press, I will not do more than 4 sets total there, meaning 2 and 2. Then if I wanted to get some volume in there, I would do that with like some flies.
Yep.
And I've done that. I've programmed you that way before, right? We do 3 or 4 legit like voluminous sets for flies. They're still hard, but it's not like the true progressive overload where I would want you to do 1 or 2 sets. You
Yep.
find ways to, and then on the flip side, like going deeper into that workout, then for shoulders, I'm going to do a lot of volume shit. It's still hard and burns like crazy, and we're going to hit failure, but it's more voluminous than
Mhm.
progressive overload. So I think for me, at least, the true magic there is a little bit of both. Picking and choosing the exercises and where you do it. Like
Yep.
arms are a great example. I like more voluminous arm workouts than 2 exercises. If I had to do 2 exercises for biceps and say 4 sets total, I think I could still grow my arms, but I like a little bit more volume. And that's just a
Yep.
preference, where now with legs, I'm going to do 1 or 2 sets of leg curl, 1 or 2 sets of adductor, 1 or 2 sets of leg press, hack squat, and then I might lunge. And that's it. Like,
Mhm.
so it's just picking and choosing there. I think it's also like mental stimulation. Like if you need to chase that logbook, do it. If you need a period of where you feel like, man, the thought of progressive overload is like not worth an injury or risk, then do volume
Mhm.
and just based upon the time of the year. So there is no right answer, sadly. That's the funny one. He says, Chris, how many pairs of shoes do you own? And are you a collector? No, I don't collect shoes, but I have a collection. Like in my closet upstairs, probably 50-ish pairs. Angela makes me throw them away every now and then, and I'll like throw 20 away. So yeah,
Yeah.
I probably have 50-ish off the count. I probably have in the closet down here maybe 10, and then probably 50 upstairs. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just,
I do the same thing with t-shirts.
yeah, yes. At one time when I worked at Gold's and I was on my feet all day, every day, I had probably every pair of Nike Frees they made in every color.
Hmm.
And it was ridiculous. And they were all relatively new because I just changed the shoe per the day, like based on what I wanted to wear. So no, I don't have a like crazy obsession with Jordans and shit. Like I'm not gonna pay over $130 for a pair of tennis shoes. It's not gonna do it.
Yeah.
To me, it's uh, not what I'm about.
Agreed there.
How many times will we say, how many things of Sarah can we get?
Yeah.
Oh fuck. All right. Opinion on GLP-1 drugs and bodybuilding. I feel like you and I have worn that question out. We both don't like it.
Oh, fun one though. I actually met a dude
Okay.
who got prescribed semaglutide,
Okay, yeah.
and he was on it for 3 months.
All right.
And he started having some weird digestive issues, so he came off of the drug.
Yes.
He's actually one of those nice people. He's in a case of stomach paralysis.
Mm.
So they actually ran a test on him. I don't remember what they throw have him drink like a drink,
Okay.
and then they come back 24 hours later, and then they look in his stomach and they
Okay.
see how much of the liquid is still left in there.
Okay.
And if you have a healthy stomach, 98% of that stuff should be gone.
Okay.
So he drank it 24 hours later, and 70% of that stuff's still in there.
Oh, fuck.
So, and that was only thing he had for 24 hours too. There was no other added food. So,
Jesus Christ, man. Yeah.
when it comes to bodybuilding, we all eat a lot of food.
Yeah.
And if your stomach is down to 30% capacity,
Yeah.
imagine what happens when you go from a dieting phase to a off season
Right.
and you can't digest your food.
Yeah. Agreed.
What happens when you can't digest your food in a fucking diet?
Yep. You know, so many coaches and people want to use it as a band-aid to fight hunger.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, if you can't stand hunger pain, this is not a sport for you. And I don't care how much your coach feeds you. If you're on the George Farah diet, once your body fat gets to a certain level, you're going to be hungry. I'm sorry, I've yet to meet someone who isn't lean and hungry. There on
Yep.
your high days, you might be a little more on the more full side, but you have to be hungry. So in bodybuilding, I do not think it has its place if you're non-diabetic.
Yeah,
If you're diabetic, completely ignore that. That's what the drug was designed for. Take it as your doctor recommends.
yeah,
But for us normal functioning pancreas humans, like it's best not to use it. I'm sorry. Like just be hungry, deal with it. Like there are other things you can do for appetite suppression. That's not what I would choose. So I
yeah.
know I've seen it written into a ton of client programs, and I always cringe when I see it. So I've said 1,000 times, like my thought process with food is I want fast turnover rate, not something sitting in your stomach like a brick.
Mhm.
Just why I hate casein protein. So, uh, fun fact there. What kind of cycles do pros really run and how long?
Oh my God, this is probably my favorite question.
Okay, yeah, go.
I think I brought this up to Dave. Um, I'm going to call him Big Dave. I can't
Oh,
remember his name.
Martina.
Yeah. Um, but the more and more, like the longer I've been in bodybuilding, it's actually really funny. The bigger the dudes are, if you sit around and talk at a bodybuilding show and you go find the guys who are 250 plus,
Right.
they're talking about food,
Yes. Yeah.
right? How to eat more of it, how to make it taste good.
Right.
But watch fucking Dave's story. He's 280, right? He's two
Yes.
almost 300, right?
Yep.
That dude has awesome food on his story, like bodybuilding food, not fucking cupcakes and ding dongs,
Agreed.
like
Yes.
bodybuilding fucking meals every fucking time,
Yep.
and they look fucking delicious,
Agreed.
right?
Yep.
And then you go on the other side of the coin, you got these guys who are 165 pounds. There's no food. They don't talk about food.
Nope.
They're talking about fucking cycles,
Right.
right? You know why this is?
Right.
The guys who are 250 plus have realized what it doesn't really matter what the cycle is. They're going to have tests. They're going to have some kind of androgen. They might have an occasional oral.
Yes.
But the thing that's driving all of their success is the food,
Correct. Yep.
right? That you could give them any combination of cycle. You could give them test and primo. You could give them test and deca,
Right.
right? They know they're going to grow on this
Yes.
because of what they eat.
Yep.
And then you get the other side of the coin. You got these guys doing all these fucking exotic compounds. They're like, I'm taking test DHB primo, and this is like I'm and I'm growing like a weed as they're 170.
Right. Yes.
You know, like I don't want to be a dick here and be like, what cycles are pro using? They're using the same fucking things, right?
Yep. Yep.
They're nailing their diet. They've been doing this for fucking 15 years.
Yes. So I can't speak for all pros, obviously.
Yeah.
All the ones that I train and all of the top name pros that John ever worked with, I know I got to see what they took. That was part of my interning with him. Okay. I was underwhelmed every fucking time. Underwhelmed, not overwhelmed. Like I was like, it was a light bulb moment for me. And I was like, man, like it's not what everyone tells you. Genetics, food, training. Those are the three catalysts. And the funny thing is, everyone wants to talk about genetics for growing, but what about genetics for metabolizing compounds and then not having side effects? That's the difference, right? Like there's that story of Phil Heath where he showed up to what it was USA's where he won, and he was talking about how he was using EQ up until the show. That's a no-no, right? You shouldn't do that. It is when you're the best in the world, or will be
Yeah.
one day. Like the, I mean, it's just really interesting to me, like how much emphasis people put on that. Like if you, I mean, Ian just said this, he never as a pro took over 170, 170, 750 makes a test. And you go on the internet and you'll see guys say there's not one pro that runs less than 2 grams a test. But it's like you said, they're 185 pounds on the keyboard. Like, and also to touch on your point, which is funny, like I've never sit around a circle of bodybuilders and be like, hey, what do you want, man? Like, we just all know we're on something. And
Exactly.
there's no reason talking about it. Like,
Yeah.
we might be like, man, we got our hands on some good fill in the blank. And then that's it. Like, there, Yeah, the amount of times you and I actually talk about drugs when you're in or I'm the, where you are, like it's now I know what you take because I write it in your plan, but it's like
Mhm.
uh, it's like you said, we just there's it's not that big of a deal. It's bodybuilding. Yes, we're
Yeah.
all something like, but it's so far less piece of a puzzle. Like,
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things. It's like you're gonna hit your max benefits of drug use well before you're probably hitting the max benefit. Like you're gonna top out your training or your diet.
yes,
And like if you if you worry less about the thing you already were maxed out about,
yeah,
and you worry about the other two things, like how do you think you're gonna progress?
yeah.
If I'm at, let's say, 35% of my ability of training
Mhm.
and I'm on a cycle and that's pretty much nailed out and that's at 95%. Should I worry about that 5% better drug use
Right.
or the other 67% of my training?
Yep.
Which one has better return of investment?
Yep.
And if you think you are really training that hard, like legitimately go pay someone to put you through your paces. I'm not saying me. You could pick me, you could pick you. Go find a top level trainer and train with them. And I bet you're going to be like, oh shit, I could have been doing better.
Yes.
You know?
It's a cycle, right? Like, so when you find that training, you're like, oh shit, I'm super hungry now, so I can eat more food. And then guess what? All of those supplements you're taking are now getting put to better use. It's laughable to me. Like, I think a lot of times people are like, Chris, why don't you post his cycles? If I told people what you took to get the first 40 pounds of muscle you put on with me, they wouldn't believe me. They'd say
Mhm.
you're full of shit. It's double that, triple that, quadruple that. Okay, cool. I know what's in the plan. Like, it's just not sexy. It's not, and people want it to be. Go listen to that latest podcast with Fuad, Samson, Ben Chow, and James Hollingshead. And they talk about Samson's cycle, and all three of them are like, yeah, if you knew what he took, you wouldn't believe it. And it's not because it's high. Like, now, I do want to talk about the other side real fast. I'm not saying there are some people out there who are reckless and like, fuck it, 6 grams, let's roll, son. Like, there's people who are morons and have done everything, but I think they will all have said the same thing. It was unnecessary. I responded just as good to less with less side effects. Like
Mhm.
the answer, it will always be for me, find the right amount of supplements that don't trash your health, but can give you the most benefit. And if you do that and then maximize, as you said, food and training, you grow until you decide to stop growing.
Yeah.
It may not be at the rate you want, but it'll happen. It's got to give it time.
Mhm.
All right, let's see. Let's see. This is a business question. How do you, in my case, increase my in-person personal training clients? I have a great core of people, but could always use more. So for me, if I wanted more clients, I would literally just walk the floor, training floor, and offer to help people. So let's say, Dave, you're on a hammer strength chest press. I'm cleaning the weights up. You say hello. I'm saying, oh, how's chest going today? And you're like, I'm pretty good pump. Like, cool. You want me to show you something? That'll take it to the next level. And then exactly what you just described is what I would do for the next 20, 30 minutes that I had before my next client if I had a cancellation that day.
Mhm.
And I would show you what it's like to train. And if that triggers something in your brain to either make you better or be like, man, like I really need to bring out my hamstrings. Could you show me that for hamstrings? Yeah, go book a session. Let's go book a session right now for on Thursday. Or when do you train the legs next? I train them on Saturday. Awesome. You want to do it with me? See you here at 9 o'clock. Done. Blow their legs up. The amount of times that converted to an in-person client, countless. Um, just talking to people was how I always did it. I was really fortunate. My word of mouth in the gym I worked at was how I sustained a business. Um,
Mhm.
for the most part, I always had a full schedule or a waiting list. Now, obviously, weird things would happen in the year, and I'd have like 2 or 3 clients maybe drop off or move or change jobs, and I'd have a couple open slots. Those usually filled pretty quickly. I don't know what your gym is like, but if it's busy like mine was, it was always just fish in a barrel. As long as I talked to people and trained my face off with the people that I had and got them results, I never had a problem filling my schedule up. So,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. If you're one of those personal trainers that walks around and it's like points to equipment and then gets back on their phone, like good luck.
Yes,
You
agreed.
know, but if you're, active with your client, you push them, they make progress.
Yeah.
That is the best advertisement you could ever buy.
Yep, agreed.
That no one needs to ask any questions at that point. They're gonna be like, wow, Nancy was not in shape. She met with Dave. Now Nancy's in shape.
Right. Yeah.
Like what was it? They're like, well, what I can't imagine what the underlying factor was.
Yeah.
You know,
A lot of times people ask me, Chris, why'd you get out of the personal training world? It's because of that. And I don't say this to brag about myself, but I was so busy that I could barely breathe some days. And that got to me after 10 years.
yeah,
Like it was all I'd have like somebody cancel. I'm like, oh, thank God. And the next thing you know, someone would be like, hey, Chris, what are you doing right now? Can you come help me? Like, or I'd have two people drop off and I'd have six people that want to sign up. I'm like, where in the hell am I going to put you in my schedule? And that's stressful. Um, phone alarm. Uh, so yeah, man, for me, it was always word of mouth. I clearly acted and fit the part. I did a lot of outreach in the community as well. It helped that I coached our older son Ty for sports because inevitably someone would always ask me nutrition and training questions. Like, I think that might be the biggest thing that most people don't do now. They're so glued to that fucking phone that you have to talk to people.
mhm,
And I was never scared to share my knowledge. Like, if I'm taking a piss at the urinal and someone's like, "Hey, Chris, like I saw you pose in the locker room the other day. How'd you get all that fat off?" And I would say, "Hey, what's your nutrition like? Do you do cardio? Like, I've seen you train. Have you thought about taking it to the next level?" Like, you have to be willing to share knowledge and not think that all this knowledge is mine unless you pay for me. I'm not going to give it away.
yeah,
John taught me that, which is why I post on Instagram, why I make these YouTube videos, why I do podcasts. Is I've always found the more information I share with people, the more people are willing to pay me for my service. It's the ones who are always like close knit and they're like scared to tell their secrets. I'm like, hey, fun fact, brother, on our secrets. The magic of working with you or I are my eyes and being
mhm,
able to read situations and how to problem solve your issues because 9 out of 10 I faced them hundreds of times
mhm,
where you faced them zero. And other coaches out there who are competing with me have done it for far less time and haven't seen the
mhm.
bodies that I've seen. So yeah, that's a good question. I like
Yeah.
work. Thoughts on cardio when bulking and leaning out? Does it actually stimulate the metabolism or just is it macronutrient control?
It's a little bit of fat control, but it's also, well, I mean, think about this. Like, take everything, like how does your food digest when you sit, eat a meal, and you don't fucking move afterwards? Versus how does it digest when you eat a meal and you move afterwards?
Right. Yeah.
Right. So in some cases, you probably don't need as much. Let's say someone's active,
Yeah.
probably don't need much cardio in the off season, right? But if you work an office job, finding ways to move after your meal so your next meal is so that meal is digested by you get to your next meal is what happens. Because when you start compounding meals,
Yes.
you run into digestive problems, you're going to run into more body fat gain,
Agreed.
and it's going to be a pain in the ass to eat your food.
Yep. So what you just said there with appetite increase, huge. So yes. I also like it for specifically in the all season for so you don't die on a set of hack squats or
Mhm.
lunges or rows. Like I think so many people forget that piece is the amount of times people have come in and train with me and they can't breathe after the first two exercises. I'm like, dear God, when's the last time you've done cardio?
Yeah.
Like, yes, it is. And I realize like people my age came from a generation where you didn't do cardio in the all season, and it was viewed as like there was a running joke when I first started bodybuilding, like even if you had sex, you did it on your back.
Yeah.
Like I'm in the off season, man. Like I can't be burning calories; they're too hard to eat. Like, but now I think we've evolved into realize that like, hey, you don't a have to get quite as fat in the all season, but two, like if you get that out of shape cardiovascularly, your work sets on back and legs, chest is or they're going to suffer.
Yep.
And dear God, I would hate for my lungs to fail on a set of lunges before my quads and glutes do.
Yep.
At the end of the day, like that's I always think when if I start to feel that, I'm always like, you lazy fat fuck. It's time to do hit cardio. Like,
Mhm.
I have to fix that.
Mhm.
I think so for me, it's a pride thing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, not only that, like for me, when I feel that happening, if I'm doing a set of hack squats and my lungs give out before my legs do,
right.
are my legs going to change?
Nope.
I got to the point where my lungs need to change,
Yes. Yep.
but my quads are like, oh, cool, we had five more in the tank.
Yeah.
They have no reason to change.
Yes.
They only have the reason to stay the same. So if I'm not going to go just be like, okay, let's do that again next week and not fucking change,
Right.
I know I need to change something. What's not my workout.
Yes. Yeah.
I need to change my cardiovascular ability.
Yes. Agreed. So yeah, I think cardio is extremely important. Also, the last piece is just heart health. To touch on that, like that the ability of cardiovascular activity to also keep my heart healthy and then all of my joints, body, hips, ankles mobile, right?
Mhm.
There's something about moving through space that's magic for the body. We're supposed to move. We aren't supposed to do what I'm doing right now, which is
Yeah.
sit in the fucking desk.
Yep.
Um, and I think people forget that. Like
Yeah.
movement is so effing huge for us. And our bodies, no matter if we're bodybuilders or not, like that and that coupled with like sunlight is so powerful, you know?
Yeah.
So just some food for thought there to go kind of hippie on everyone. Like you have to move, man. Like it's not a bad thing. If you struggle with ankle mobility, yeah, you it isn't just, oh, I'm getting older. It's because you sit too fucking much. Stop it.
Yeah.
All right. I
Yeah.
think it's a
Or you don't train calves with your ankle mobility.
oh valid. Yes,
I
yes,
will
yes.
call you out on that every
Yeah,
fucking time.
yeah, yes, yes. All right, we'll do final question here and then we'll save the other. Good God, we have at least 12, 15 more. All right, let's do this. Your favorite gyms you two have been to while training and why?
Oh man, that Metroflex we did in California,
Yeah, that was a blast.
that was a fantastic gym. It was probably one of the weirdest gyms I've ever been in my life because it had a UFC ring in the middle. It had like a CrossFit section. But man, that the environment there was just awesome. They were just playing loud music.
Yes.
Everybody was working. Like it wasn't fucking cold in there. Like the equipment was like, how many shoulder press machines did they have? Like 13,
It was a lot.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, metal dumbbells, metal plates.
Yes.
Like it was just
Concrete
nothing.
floor.
Yeah, yeah, just straight concrete floor, nothing fancy, just fucking like you knew people were there to work.
Yes.
There was no fluff in that gym at all.
One of the coolest things. We walk in and the kid behind the desk like, y'all here for USA's? And we're like, yeah. And he goes, cool. When you're done, grab me. I'll take some photos for you. Like
Yeah,
very, very rarely will that happen.
yeah,
We didn't go in there with like NPC shirts or IFBB pro cards and all that bullshit. He's like, y'all are big, y'all are here for USA's, right? I'm like, just knew. Yeah, man, we're here. Like, I think that's gonna be a hard environment to rival
yeah,
because it was like people were working out hard around you but didn't get in your way. There was no
yeah,
tripod set up. There was, I always joked like if the bathrooms are clean, like it's probably not a good gym.
yeah.
I'm just fucking around, by the way. Um, Remember that there was that random like Rubbermaid tub that had like a kid's bike in it and a bunch of shit.
They had
You
every single handle you could think of, including a small kid's bike attachment.
right. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, to me,
They
like,
had that other bucket was just completely full of chains.
yes, yeah. It's like you and I took a tour. Well, I say a tour. You and I just kind of like walked around, took it all in, and then like as we were going, we were finding more shit. Like yeah. And because we were there, what? We were there 2 days, 3 days.
Yes, 2 days. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, yeah, that was cool. I mean, to me, also the environment you and I were in at Elite FTS can't be
oh
replicated.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's no fixing, no changing that.
we
That
would
was the same way. I mean, like, I love the fact that gym had no mirrors,
yes. Yep. Yep.
not one. There was not one in the fucking bathrooms. There wasn't one on the wall. That one's like just shows you what we were there for.
Correct.
Like that mindset was like just grained into that gym. And the outside of the gym says nothing.
Yes.
It's
Yep.
just a fucking concrete box.
Right. Right.
Behind a church,
Mhm. Yep.
whatever that was we drove past, and everybody in there is just like going to town.
Yep.
Like there was a dude squatting like 700 pounds that day.
Yeah. 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 Because we walked in, the girl at the receptionist area like found our bags, gave it to us, loaded with goodies, and they're like, "Have a blast!
Yeah,
Like the world is your oyster. Enjoy." Like, I mean, we were. I think you and I may have been the only bodybuilders, maybe one or two more. I can't remember.
yeah,
But just the energy of that environment was different than Metro, but it's the same thing. It was
yeah.
like everyone just it was there to get better and have fun and what I will call like bodybuilding fellowship, which really it's more like in that scenario, lifting fellowship of like, hey, you do cool hard shit, we do cool hard shit, let's have a blast. Like
Yeah.
no one talking shit, there's none of that negative energy. It was all just like, how in the hell can we move the most amount of weight as possible? And that's what we did. I don't know how long we were in there. It like felt like 3 minutes when we were done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say those two are probably the coolest places I've ever been, period, and probably together as well. Um,
Yeah.
Not to say that our home gyms aren't great places, because I think when most people probably come to either our home gyms, they're always amazed by how cool it is.
Hmm.
But to you and I, that's home. Like
Yeah.
it's all the people there are used to us and used to, the environment. But with those two gyms specifically, those to me are the two that really stand out. That I think would almost be hard to replicate.
Hmm.
One's a private studio or a private facility, whatever you want to say, and the other one is just a jungle of equipment. That almost reminds me, like it kind of reminds me like a prison yard mixed with a weight room, mixed with someone who knew how to pick equipment. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was fun. Yeah, both, and I like that it's no AC, and you and I were drenched in sweat within like 3.5 minutes.
Hmm. Yeah. We were definitely soaked.
So, yeah, and I think this too, right? And again, I don't think this is to brag on you or I, but this is to show that after all the training you and I've had, you and I still stood out at both those places. Like
Hmm.
we were still atypical, which is weird, right? Because I forget that sometimes. And Angela always has to remind me, she's like, Chris, like most people don't train like you two.
Hmm.
And I forget that I'm always like, wow, it, it's not unique or special. It's training. And she's like, I don't care. Like she was raised in a gym, worked at gyms, and she's like, no one does that regularly all the time, every time. And I think you and I are probably just numb to it, but every place you and I have ever trained together, people are always like, that's fucking wild, man. You're like, cool,
Yeah.
Monday.
Yeah. Yeah. My girlfriend gives me crap for that all the time because she'll be working out and like me and Zach will be training together.
Yeah,
And she's like, I just watch you guys do your thing. And it's just like obscene.
right. Yeah. You know, she saw that story you posted for my birthday, and she's like, I forget how fucking annoying you are when you lift weights. She's like that 'cause she used to walk into Golds, and if I'd be lifting, she's like, I can hear my stupid ass fucking husband back there. Like, meanwhile, this is a 45,000 square foot gym.
Yeah.
She'd be like front desk, like, is Chris in the weight room? They're like, yeah, he's back there. Like, yeah, she's like, you always got to be screaming motherfucker or making that weird ass noise you always make. I'm like, yeah, it just comes out of my fucking mouth when I'm having fun, man. Like, so yeah. In that, like, we just ran through a ton of different questions. We have a bunch more. We'll get those next week. But guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you have more questions, post them below. And as always, the unfiltered truth as we see it. And here's the fun thing, guys, like we may change our opinions on that in 5 years. So
Yeah.
evolution. All right. Until next time. See ya.